Today's lesson is 9.5, which is called Equations and Graphs. So this lesson is going to take everything we've learned from lesson 1, 2, 3, and 4, and it's going to throw it all into one big lesson, okay? So I really want you to listen today because there's a lot of steps involved in what we are going to do. All right, so let's start with our I can statement. It's how can you translate between equations and graphs, okay? Some important words today. This word solution right here. Solution, remember, from our other units, is an answer to a problem. Okay, it's the answer. And in a linear equation, we're going to talk about today in particular, or when we have x and y coordinates, you're going to have multiple solutions, more than one solution. Everything that we have done in this unit has been more than one solution. So the solutions of an equation in two variables is an ordered pair that makes an equation to be true. For example, if 2, which is my independent, and is a solution of the equation y equals x plus 3, because 5 is equal to 2 being my x plus 3. Okay? We have a vocabulary word today. That word is linear equation. A linear equation is an equation whose solutions, not solution, form a straight line. This is what we had in yesterday's lesson on a coordinate plane. Any point on the line is a solution to that equation, okay? Any point, do you see this? Any point on that line is a solution to an equation. So let's start first of all right away with our unlock the problem. All right, a blue whale is swimming at an average rate of 3 miles per hour. Write a linear equation that gives the distance y in miles that the whale swims in x hours. Then graph the relationship. Okay, before we even get started today, we're going to go back to a formula that we have already studied and that we know. That formula is D equals, let me get this to, okay, R, remember, times T. We're going to use rate times time to make our distance, okay? Our distance is going to be our dependent variable. So I'm going to make that a y, okay? Because that's what I want to solve for, is equal to the rate multiplied by the time, okay? I don't know what the time is, so I'm going to make that an x, okay? And the time is going to be the thing that changes so that I can find the distance. We're going to write an equation. So the first thing you need to decide is what is my independent variable, and what is my dependent variable. Dependent's what I'm solving for. If you can figure that out, the rest of it's going to fall into play, okay? Now I'm going to go back up to my story problem. My story problem says that this blue whale can go 3 miles per hour, right? That wasn't so good, but oh well. That's my rate. That's my constant. Remember that word constant. So I'm going to put a 3 in here. So now I have an equation. Is 3 times x is going to equal y. So the rate is 3 miles per hour. So we're going to go by hour here, obviously. It's going to equal the distance that I can go per hour. So here again, boys and girls, here is in my table, here's my rule or my formula or my equation. 3x, okay? Now I'm going to put my x on this side and I'm going to put my y on this side. When x changes, y is going to change. This takes me back to lesson number 2. So if I take 3 and I take it times the x, which is 1, my y becomes 3. If I change that now to 2 hours and I put a 2 in here, I have 3 times 2, which is going to be an output of 6. Okay? If I have a 3, I'm going to put a 3 in here for x, and 3 times 3 gives me an output of 9. And so forth. I'm going to follow along in my pattern, just as my table and my pattern, just as they show me, and this is going to become a 12. Okay. Now I'm going to take my x value and my y value. I've already applied my formula. I know what all my x's and my y's are, and I'm going to put it into my ordered pairs, just like we learned in the last lesson. So that's a 6. This is a 3. And this is a 9. This is a 4 for my x value or for my x coordinate. And then I'm going to have a 12 right here for, for my y variable. Okay. Now, once I've got my ordered pairs, I can graph this relationship. They've already done the first one for me, 1 to 3. Now notice that my scale is going up here by 2s, so you have to be very careful. Always know your scale. You have your x coordinate here, you've got your y coordinate here. So now I'm going to go from 2 to 6. I'm going to go from 2 up here to 6. And I'm going to put in a dot right here as best I can. And I'm going to go from 3 up to 9. Now 9 is going to be right in between. It's not going to be right where the 2 points meet in this case. I get it to work. All right, and then 4 is going to go all the way up here to 12. Okay, so now what I want you to notice is that we have a straight line. And we're going to go ahead and draw that straight line. I'm going to change my marker here and my color. And I'm going to start here at 0, and I'm going to follow my dots as best as I can. And it's going to keep going. I know that's not super straight. I apologize, but it should be directly on top of those dots. It's hard to see it with my finger here. All right, I'm still making it worse. But anyway, it should create a straight line. And that will be able to tell you, you should be able to follow that same pattern and find other items, or you can find out what X would be if it's a 12 or a 10. You'll know what in 10 hours how far that wheel can go if you continue to follow that linear equation. Okay, so a linear equation, let me remind you, a linear equation is an equation whose solutions, these are the solutions right here, okay? There's more than one, form a straight line of the coordinate plane. All right, I try to draw a straight line. I am so sorry. You guys can draw a straight line. All right, let's go on to the next example. I want to go to the next page, which is 518, real quick. And I'm going to go through this example. This example is going to give you the graph already. We're going to go backwards. We have the graph in place. And from the graph, we're going to create our ordered pairs, which are here, and we're going to put those into the graph because I'm going to create the equation this time. All right, we're going to create the equation. So the graph shows the number of beaded necklaces Y that Ginger can make in X hours. Write a linear equation for the relationship that's shown by the graph. Okay, let me change my marker out just a little bit here. So I'm going to take these ordered pairs that you see right here, first of all, and I'm going to plug those in. 1 to 2, that's 3 to 6, and I've got 4 to 8, okay? Showing me a pattern. Now I can look at my ordered pair. I'm going to look at my relationship from X to Y. I'm not going to look at the zeros because 0 times 0 is itself. But what's happening here from 1 to 2, from 3 to 6, and from 4 to 8? Okay, instead of just taking a long time to analyze this, I'm going to show you that I'm actually timesing by 2. This is times 2. This is going to be 2 times 3. This is 2 times 4 equals 8. Okay, so to write my linear equation, I'm going to take that relationship, which was times 2, okay, and I'm going to create this. Y is going to be equal to, okay, now they're going to write this 2 different ways. So it's going to be equal to X times 2, or really, truly, we need to get used to this. Y is going to be equal to 2X. Okay, so I created my linear equation from my graph. Then I can take my graph here from my coordinate plane here and put it into my table. And from my table, I can analyze the relationship and create a linear equation. All right, boys and girls, our goal today was to translate between equations and graphs. That was our goal. So we first took a problem, created our linear equation, and then graphed it. And in this problem here today, we did it backwards. I'm going to go ahead and let you get started on the Sharon show, where you're going to start, first of all, in number 1 and number 2 with your graph, or I'm sorry, with your equation. And you're going to fill in your table, and then you're going to graph those points. On number 3 and number 4, they've already graphed this. I want you to, right here, I want you to create a table whoops, this isn't so good, with your X and your Y, and I want you to write your ordered pairs so that you can go back and analyze it and figure out your linear equation. Both of these are on the test. This is something that you have to be very good at doing. So if you're in class with me today, we're going to practice a lot on this. We're going to spend several days practicing between this. All right, boys and girls, happy math.